As we head into the May-long weekend, here's something that we should all reflect on. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Poilievre said the quiet part out loud.
You did mention, wondering when unvaccinated tourists can start coming to Canada. I can tell you right now, that's not going to happen for quite a while.
In speaking with the Canadian Police Association, he casually mentioned that he was going to make his own laws and use the notwithstanding clause to make them charter compliant.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. These tools include strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment.
He basically said that he was going to start taking away the rights of Canadians.
These tools include strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment, or imprisonment, or imprisonment.
But he intimated, don't worry, not your rights, the rights of others.
We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military. We're not suspending fundamental rights or overriding the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment. We are not limiting people's freedom of speech. We are not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We are not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally.
As of today, all crowdfunding platforms and the payment service providers they use must register with FINTRAC, and they must report large and suspicious transactions to FINTRAC. The government will also bring forward legislation to provide these authorities to FINTRAC on a permanent basis. The government is issuing an order with immediate effect under the Emergencies Act, authorizing Canadian financial institutions to temporarily cease providing financial services where the institution suspects that an account is being used to further the illegal blockades and occupations. This order covers both personal and corporate accounts.
Now, when someone tells you that they're going to start taking away the rights of Canadians, alarm bells should go up.
Third, we are directing Canadian financial institutions to review their relationships with anyone involved in the illegal blockades and report to the RCMP or CSIS.
Because it might not be your rights today, but it could very well be your rights tomorrow.
As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. In doing so, they will be protected against civil liability for actions taken in good faith.
And let's not forget, Mr. Poilievre has done this before. When he was Minister of Democratic Reform, he was the first Canadian minister, to my knowledge, to take away the democratic rights of Canadians.
As soon as they get the result of that PCR test, they will be free to go home and quarantine themselves. It's not a punitive measure to keep people in quarantine for 3 days while they get the result. It's just so that we can get a negative result off of that test. Now, anyone who shows up at a border crossing without an adequate quarantine plan already is directed to quarantine facilities approved by PHAC so that they can do it.
He made it harder for 500,000, 500,000 Canadians to vote federally. And alarm bells went up at the time. Whether it was elections experts, observers, academics, the media, Canadians writ large were concerned that he was making Canada less democratic. And
if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
If you are worried and watching what's happening in the United States with horror when it comes to reproductive rights, just remember, his anti-women's rights conservative MPs and the anti-choice movement here in Canada are already thinking about how they can apply those same laws and make it harder for Canadian women to access abortion and healthcare here in Canada.
But I will remind people that we have been clear at the federal level
about how important it is to get vaccinated, and we brought in very strong measures to ensure that travelers across the country need to be fully vaccinated, that people coming into the country need to be fully vaccinated, that the federal public service needs to be fully vaccinated. These are things that we have continued to move forward on because the best path forward is vaccination.
Now, when I was Minister of Democratic Institutions, I reversed his anti-democratic laws and made it easier for hundreds of thousands of Canadians to vote. Because at the end of the day, I believe in people's right to vote, and I believe in their right to democracy. And our government is committed to making sure that we uphold the rights of Canadians, whether it's their right to access abortion, their right to healthcare, or their right to participate in democracy. We are going to do that.
He's talking about personal choice. What about my choice to keep my kids safe? What about our choices to make sure we're getting through this pandemic as quickly as we can?
So this long weekend, I challenge you to figure out how you are going to continue to protect our rights and freedoms.
We're going to work with provinces and territories who want to move forward on vaccination certifications, on vaccination passports, so that everyone can be safe. And what's more, the federal government has announced we're going to pay for the development of those privileges that you get once you get vaccinated. Because everyone needs to get vaccinated, and those people are putting us all at risk.
And I'll give you a hint. It starts by telling Mr. Poilievre to keep his hands off of the rights and freedoms of all Canadians.
Get vaccinated. And you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk. And more than just being wrong, because everyone's entitled to their opinions, they are putting at risk their own kids, and they're putting at risk our kids as well. Those people are putting us all at risk.
He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service. Thank you.
Oui, on va s'en sortir de cette pandémie par la vaccination. Puis on en connaît tous des gens qui sont en train d'hésiter un petit peu. On va continuer d'essayer de les convaincre. Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Et là, il faut faire un choix en tant que leader, en tant que pays. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, ben voyons, la plupart des gens, presque 80% des Québécois ont fait ce qu'il fallait faire, se sont fait vacciner, on veut revenir aux choses qu'on aime faire. C'est pas ces gens-là qui vont nous bloquer.